With the wolf-head mercenary ranks in ruins, Xiaoyan now confronts the cold, calculating fury of their leader. The battlefield shifts as Mu She manifests the formidable energy of a true doshi, creating a barrier that marks the beginning of a desperate duel. Faced with this overwhelming pressure, the young cultivator must push his limits to survive the coming storm.
Mu She stared at Xiaoyan with cold, dark eyes. He slowly raised his long spear. Inside his body, killing intent drove his douqi into a frantic rhythm. A pale green light surfaced on his skin, hardening into a thin, translucent membrane that hugged his frame. This energy shroud was the mark of a true doshi. It did more than just harden the user's defense and sharpen their speed. It acted like a sponge, pulling energy from the surrounding air to replenish what was lost in the heat of battle. For any doshi, manifesting this shield was the opening move of every serious fight. Xiaoyan's chest tightened as he watched the light solidify. At his current level, he could only summon a fraction of that power to cover a single limb. The gap between a doji and a doshi was a chasm, wide and treacherous. Xiaoyan exhaled a slow, steady breath. His face hardened. No matter how he looked at it, he was facing a genuine doshi warrior. He tightened his grip on the heavy Xuan ruler. Deep within his core, the dochi cyclone spun faster, sending waves of heat through his limbs.
Mu She ran a thumb along the shaft of his spear. When his energy reached its peak, he let out a sharp bark and lunged. His boots kicked up dust as he blurred forward. The spearhead vibrated, creating a shifting pattern of white light that looked like falling snow. The steel tip snaked through the air, aimed directly at Xiaoyan's throat. Mu She had seen the boy's armor stop his son's sword before. He wasn't going to waste time on the torso. He was going for the kill. Xiaoyan didn't panic. He stepped back, swinging the massive black ruler in a wide arc. The heavy metal became a wall before him. Steel met iron with a deafening clang. Sparks showered the ground as the two moved in a blur of motion. Every time the spear struck the ruler, the impact shivered through Xiaoyan's arms, but he held his ground. Mu She watched his opponent closely. After several exchanges, a cold sneer touched his lips. He had the boy's measure.
9-star Duja. As long as Xiaoyan hadn't broken through to the doshi rank, Mu She had nothing to fear. The spear whistled as it tore through the air, moving like a lightning strike. Xiaoyan swung the ruler to parry once more, but this time, the spearhead dipped. Mu She twisted his wrist at the last second, letting the ruler's momentum carry it past the opening. He lunged, driving the point straight for Xiaoyan's neck. Xiaoyan threw his weight backward. His boots skidded across the dirt as he threw himself out of the spear's path.
Phoenix soaring step. Mu She didn't let up. He shouted a command, and his feet barely touched the ground as he glided forward like a leaf caught in a gale. He was on Xiaoyan in an instant, the spear thrusting again. Xiaoyan's back hit the courtyard wall. He didn't hesitate. He leaped, planting both feet against the stone. Yellow doqi flared around his boots. With a sharp crack, he pushed off the wall, using the recoil to launch himself forward like a bolt from a crossbow. While airborne, Xiaoyan swung the heavy Xuan ruler with everything he had. The sheer weight of the black metal brought a crushing pressure down toward Mu She's head. Rapid wind thrust. Mu She's brow furrowed at the incoming force. He spun his spear, and a small green cyclone erupted around the tip. The wind hissed, sharp enough to tear cloth. He drove the spear upward, meeting the descending ruler head-on. The sound of the collision rang through the courtyard, sharp enough to make the ears bleed. The power of a 2-star doshi was undeniable. Mu She's doqi was a roaring river compared to Xiaoyan's stream. The force of the counterstrike tore the heavy Xuan ruler right out of Xiaoyan's hands. The black weapon spiraled into the air. Xiaoyan's face went pale. He lunged to recover it, but Mu Shi was faster. Buoyed by his wind energy, Mu Shi leaped and snatched the ruler out of the sky. The moment his hand closed around the black metal, Mu Shi's expression twisted. The weight was staggering. It dragged him out of the air, slamming his feet into the dirt. Even worse, a strange suppression washed over him, causing his Dou Qi to stutter and stall. Caught off guard by the sudden change, Mu Shi froze. He had lived his life relying on the smooth flow of his energy, and this sudden blockage left him wide open.
Damned cursed weapon.
Mu tried to hurl the ruler away, but a shadow was already looming behind him.
Xiaoyan's voice was a cold whisper in his ear.
You wanted it. Now keep it. Octane Blast.
Xiaoyan's fist surged with violent energy. He punched forward, the air screaming as his knuckles slammed into Mu Shi's back. Mu Shi's eyes bulged. He dropped the ruler and tried to force his Dou Qi into the membrane on his back, thickening the green shield to the limit. The blow landed with a heavy thud. The impact sent Mu Shi flying. He tumbled through the air, barely managing to land on his hands and knees. He coughed, his face turning a sickly white. Before he could turn to counter, he felt a foreign surge of energy deep inside his muscles. Xiaoyan stood a few paces away. He curled his fingers into a fist.
Burst.
Mu Shi's body jerked. A muffled explosion sounded from within his chest. He let out a strangled groan as a trail of blood leaked from the corner of his mouth. Xiaoyan shook his head. A Douqi's instincts were sharp. Mu Shi had managed to move just enough Douqi to dampen the Octane Blast's hidden force. If he had been a second slower, the fight would be over. Xiaoyan walked forward and pulled the heavy Xuan ruler from the ground. With a flick of his wrist, he stored it in his ring. He watched Mu Shi, who looked like a wounded animal. Xiaoyan didn't say a word. He merely swallowed a qi recovery pill he had been holding under his tongue, feeling the warmth spread through his veins.
You little brat. I underestimated you.
Mu Shi wiped the blood from his lips. His face was a mask of pure rage. No doge had ever made him look this pathetic. He planted his spear in the ground. The green membrane around his body faded, but the energy didn't disappear. It flowed into the spear, coating the steel in a thick, vibrating layer of wind.
But don't think you're the only one with high-level techniques.
Mush grinned, a jagged, hateful expression. He told Xiaoyan that the cave they found with Little Fairy Doctor had held a high-tier scroll just for him. He intended to use it to end the boy's life.
Xiaoyan's eyes narrowed. He hadn't expected Mu Shi to risk breaking the lock on the chest back in the cave. He could see the energy on the spearhead beginning to take the shape of a roaring lion. This was at least a mystery-level technique.
Xiaoyan sighed. He reached out, and the heavy Xuan ruler reappeared in his grip. He couldn't afford to hold back any longer.
Mu Shi didn't wait. He kicked off the ground, his speed doubling.
I'll show you the difference between a doshi and a common brat. Lion's roar!
As he lunged, the Douqi lion on his spear let out a silent, powerful scream. The sheer pressure of the move made Little Fairy Doctor, watching from above, go pale with fright. Xiaoyan didn't blink. He drew in a deep breath, and his own Douqi surged to a boiling point. The black ruler began to glow with a searing ruby-red light. The heat was so intense that the air around it began to warp and shimmer.
Flame-splitting Tsunami.
Xiaoyan roared as the temperature in the courtyard skyrocketed. A strange, ancient pattern flared briefly across his skin. He swung the ruler down with a violent, vertical strike. A massive wave of crimson energy erupted from the blade. It tore through the earth, carving a deep trench in the stone as it raced toward Mu Xie.
Fear finally flickered in Mu Xi's eyes. He hadn't realized Xiao Yan's secret technique had grown this powerful in just a few months. There was no room to dodge. He snarled, pouring every last drop of his Dao Qi into his spear to meet the red tide.
The explosion shook the entire estate. Where the two forces met, the ground shattered. Cracks spider-webbed outward, reaching the nearby buildings until the walls groaned and collapsed into piles of rubble. Dust and smoke choked the air. As the wind cleared the haze, a lone figure remained standing, leaning on a heavy black ruler. Xiao Yan stood firm. Across the ruins, a body was slumped against a broken wall, buried under bricks and dust. High above, little fairy doctor let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. A soft, relieved laugh escaped her lips as she looked down at the boy who had survived.